Hello there. I've been thinking about doing a Starbucks for a while, and I recently went in one and it inspired me to finally get around to doing it. So today I'm going to be building this Starbucks and we're in Newcrest. Taking a little break from Widow Creek, and we're going to be doing this nice little Starbucks cafe today. So I started by using these live edit walls. I'm sort of basing this on Starbucks that's near me, but it's also, I took quite a few little Google reference images and I've made a bit of an amalgamation of different Starbucks. Because the one near me is a little bit, it's a little bit basic. I wanted to make it a little bit more interesting, so I've got my little shell here, and I'm using the concrete paint from Eco Lifestyle. I'm gonna get that on there while I make the shell, and then I'm using these other wall pieces. I think these are Jungle Adventure live edit wall pieces. They're my favorite one now. It's the smallest wall, so you can size it down and you can use it and spin it around and make all of these nice little like curved corner sort of flower bed areas. So that's what I'm going to be doing here. I'm making a car park. And I'm making a car park, and I'm going to have a little drive-through because Starbucks have drive-throughs now, which is very convenient. But I'm making this flower bed, and I'm making the flower bed so that it sort of surrounds some parking spaces. I'm going to make some parking spaces too. I actually had to size down the pieces even one more time, as you can see, because I had to do this really tight curved corner, which scaling them down by 2 was not smooth enough, so I had to do it again. But I'm going around, I'm basically just making a border, making these custom flower beds, and then I'm taking out the terrain paint and putting in some soil, and I will get around to doing the concrete. I'm going to add more texture to the concrete too. There's not going to be any grass on this lot. Normally I thought like these commercial builds, other than these flower beds, they tend to be pretty much pure concrete, so I've gone for a very concrete base look, and the flower beds are more going to be like soil rather than grass or anything like that, but I am going to add some plants to it too. I'm just rounding off all of these corners. I did quite a lot of these flower beds. I'm not going to show you them all because it was a bit long. It was taking me quite a while. So I'm just showing you the sort of base rules and sort of techniques that I use to make these, and then everything else that you'll see when I finish this corner piece, I've basically just copy pasted, done the same thing just in the other corners, etc. So you can see here, yeah, I've just done around all the edges. I've put a hedge behind it as well, and then we're moving on to the shell, and I'm going to use these like combination of wood and sort of like rustic looking brick. And then also at the back, I'm going to have sort of a red brick, British style, based exterior, almost as if they've built sort of like this Starbucks facade on the front, on top of a building that was maybe already there, and they've purchased it and they've converted it. So the back's just going to be brick, where the drive-through is going to be around there at the back too. You can see there's concrete where the cars can drive past. I've put that car there too as a little sort of scaling tool, so that when I've made this driving through area, I've tested that the car does look like it can fit through. I know it makes no difference because the car isn't going to move, but yeah, I like to think that the intention was there. If we ever get cars in the game, maybe this could be converted to actually be functional, because a car would fit. But I'm not crossing my fingers that we're going to actually get functional cars in The Sims ever. But there we go. We can always hope. So I'm making these just a little bit of interest to the outside of the shell. It's not a super complex shell. It's pretty square, pretty basic, as these builds normally are. These like Starbucks and drive-through and other things. Pretty basic, but I'm just a few different textures, a few different wall heights. I'm using the platforms here to make a little edge at the top for a bit more interest. And I'm going to get onto the windows. I had to delete these walls here because I need to place these unfulfilled wall signs. One of my favorites. Again, I still wish it had a few more swatches, but the white works here. So I'm basing this on an exterior that I have a reference image of. This part is not from the one near me. The exterior is more Google amalgamation. And then I'm going to use these windows, which I think are from Harry. And then this is going to be the little drive-through window area. And then I think these are also windows from Harry. I think they're from the Clean collection. I've used a lot of CC in this build. These are the lettering by Card Off, the Simlish alphabet. I do change these because I found another set by Little Deeker, I think it is. And now here's the juicy bit, here's the good bit. You've probably seen the thumbnail and been like, how the hell did you make this? Well, here we go. I decided that I was going to do a custom Starbucks sign on the front, which took me bloody ages. This was just... Oh, it was a nightmare. And yeah, I mean, every time I build something, I feel like I'm just giving myself a harder task to do each time when I decide, oh yeah, I'm going to do a custom Starbucks sign. That sounds like a perfectly reasonable and easy thing to do, not. So you can see I've got all these wall pieces out. I'm sizing them down with the tool mod. I won't show you that again because otherwise this took ages. Obviously, I needed a lot of wall pieces to do this. But the technique here is that I basically got out this grid-looking tile wall, and I'm using that as a guide to create these two circles using the green wall chunks. And then I'm sort of just eyeballing it, to be honest. I have a picture on another screen of obviously the Starbucks logo, and I'm trying to space things out in comparison to other parts of the graphic, and I don't really know how to explain how I'm doing this, other than I'm just using this back wall grid and trying to make sure that I keep the proportions correct compared to this image that I saw. All of these wall chunks, I keep having to stop and then place a whole bunch more, size them down. So I've cut all that out, so it doesn't take forever. But because this did take me a really long time, although it actually didn't take me as long as I thought it would, because I thought that I would make some kind of giant error that I would discover near the end of making this that forced me to sort of go back and try again, but thankfully that didn't happen. Other than nudging a few pieces around at the end, it sort of worked, and I think it's because I really took my time with precision of how I was placing these. So all of these are currently the scale I'm using for these wall pieces. They're all sized down to the maximum the game will allow. Now, when I get further into this, I realized they were too big, like for the face. I think it's a mermaid, isn't it, in the Starbucks logo? Technically, it's a mermaid. But I needed them even smaller for the face, so I do end up using the tool mod to size them down even more. So there's sort of like two different sizes going on by the end of this. Here you can see, so this is the part, yeah, where I've sized things down even more in order to make like the eyes and the nose, because the game, just scaling it down in game, it wasn't small enough for me to add detail. The hair too, I needed quite thin lines for the hair, which needed even smaller wall pieces. But you can see I'm literally just layering these up, placing them one by one. And other than just the fact that I'm literally just copying this from an image that I have on the computer next to me, I can't really give you any tips on how to do something like this other than just take your time, practice. I wish I'd counted how many pieces were in this, because I have no idea, but it must be bloody loads. Yeah, I'm nudging things around on the face. It's sort of coming together. I think I size a couple of the green pieces up to use as eyes. Yeah, that's what I've done now. So I've sized up, but it's looking a bit googly-eyed right now. So I think I scale it down a little bit more. But I think this came out pretty well. I was sort of zooming in and out a little bit, which I tried to cut out because this is quite sped up, because it did take me such a long time. So I tried to cut out all the parts where I'm zooming out to try and see how this sort of like reads from a distance, so that you're not feeling like you're going to throw up going in, out all the time. But yeah, other than literally just placing these over and over again, obviously with move objects on, cheat, there's not a whole lot of like cheat or mod usage here. I've just scaled them down using tool mod and then just manually placing them all. So we're nearly finished. But you can see it came out pretty well. I'm actually quite proud of this, even though it took me so damn long. There we go, and you can see, yeah, you could see there that there's different levels in which they come out from the wall. Now these are the letters that I swapped into, because you know, I wanted letters that could glow, and my friend who was visiting actually pointed out to me that these letters existed, so thank you to my friend. And then these sort of overhanging things are from, I believe, the Rise and Grind set. So I said I'm going to use a lot of CC in this. A lot of it's going to be from the Rise and Grind set, because I needed pieces, you know, that look like cafe. I feel like the Rise and Grind set is very much based on Starbucks. So a lot of it matched, a lot of it fit. And here I'm making sort of this just platform around the edge. I'm going to have an outdoor seating area. You can see I've sort of organized it so that the car comes out at the side here. Entrance at the front, go around, drive around, go through the drive-through, and then come out at the side. I know that's a pathway at the side, but I'm just pretending that it's it's a road. We just pretend. So yeah, I'm having to do a little bit of flower bed, although they're not really flower beds, they're more just like slight foliage displays. But yeah, I'm having to do a little bit of a rework here to do what I wanted to do. So I'm going to border this outside eating, seating, drinking sort of shaded area, and just so it's surrounded a bit. And then I'm going to use this fence, which I change. Now there are some things in this build that I do change. So this plant's one of them, but I don't change them in this build. I've changed them because my friend has actually helped me figure out how I can share my files. Now it's using the Sims tray importer, but what it allows me to do is package these builds that I've made using mods and CC. And instead of you, for example, downloading it from the gallery, and then because you've not got the CC, you don't, like, half of the lots disappeared, I can sort of package the CC items into the tray exporter, and then you can download that using the tray exporter, and it will add them to your game. And I've done a lot of testing, and that's why this video's sort of like been a bit slow. I've had a few days where number one, my friends have been visiting, but number two, I've been trying to figure out how to work this bloody tray exporter, and then I also felt like everything went wrong with my game. A bunch of my CC said it was like corrupted and things, and I had to really it was a complete nightmare. But I think if you cannot download this build from the description right now, it should be added very soon. So that's good. I actually wanted to be able to share something with you and figure out how to do that while not having half of the items disappear, because that would have been a bit disappointing. I don't want like children screaming at me, leaving comments on the gallery because they've downloaded something and half of it's not there. But yeah, I'm adding in this extra terrain paint. I did this in my car park build too. I'm just basically where I think tire wear would occur, I'm using this gravel sort of thing, which is another thing that changes. That's what I was talking about. I was saying why I've changed a few things. It's because in the tray exporter, it actually tells you what packs you've used things from, and I realized there were quite a few where I'd only used 1 or 2 items from a pack. So in order to make this work for more people who don't have all of the packs, I've swapped a few things out to base game or other packs that are in this build that I needed in this build. So one of the terrain paints I've just swapped to an eco lifestyle one. Everything looks pretty much the same. You know, the theme, the vibe, the colors, everything is basically the same. There's just a few substitute items with things that look very similar but are from different packs, so that I didn't have to have a build where you needed like 15 packs or something. It's down to like just a few now. So yeah, I've moved on to the interior, and I'm going for sort of this birch, would you call that birch or oak thing? But here I'm making a custom counter. This was another thing that I worked quite hard on. I'm using, this is a custom counter piece, custom content, and then I'm using some Dream Home decorator pieces, and the sort of glass box display thing here is also from Harry. I think a lot of this is from Harry, but I didn't want to use the base, well, not base game, but the sort of fridge display for bakeries or whatever. It was a bit too, I wanted to do something more unique that looked more like Starbucks. So I've looked at pictures of different interiors, and I'm going to make this very custom sort of sculpted looking bar serving area with this case, which I'm later going to put, you know, like all the cakes and sandwiches or whatever inside. But yes, I'm using, I think I'm just using, I am using the tool mod, yeah. I'm using the tool mod to rotate these curtain rail pieces to then use them as a border, which did come from an image that I'd seen, but I've sort of done my own variant of it. But I mean, I'm bordering all along here with these curtain pieces. I do get to this wall and then have to delete it because you can see it's bouncing. It's trying to clip to the wall. So I deleted that, put it back in again, and then I realized I had to delete it again for an end piece. And I did that wrong again, and then had to delete the wall for a third time. This, I mean, I could have put a counter up for the number of times I delete that specific wall in this build. But yeah, no, so I'm using these to make this nice corner piece, which I did slightly wrong, and then I had to nudge it a little bit here, yeah, and use it again. And I'm just, because it was sticking through, I just used the tool mod to knock that down a bit by like 0.01 or something like that. Another one of my favorites are these chrome wall panels, which are really nice. I think they worked really nice here because when you move the camera, they sort of have that slight shine in the lighting system that works really nice for a Starbucks, which is obviously a little bit more, you know, they put a bit of effort into like the textures and making things look a bit more fancy. And then I use these Spade dividers, but they don't stay because I end up using some wooden slats to sort of make another custom piece. The wooden slat you can see on the wall, that turns into like a custom, I can only describe it as like a custom wallpaper, but we'll get there. And then I'm just working on this back area here too. Continuing with these custom bar pieces, and I'm going to use this curtain rail again to make sort of, I don't know what you'd call this, a frame, a very, very large frame sort of thing. So I had to delete a wall again, just in order to place these, because they were, after I rotated them in tool mod, if I then tried to move them on the wall, they would just flip back to the correct orientation. So I had to delete the wall in order to place these edge pieces. Also, I don't know if you hear a firework go off behind me at any point in this build. I'm sorry, there's not much I can do about it. It's firework weekend in the UK. We have bonfire night, which is just absolute annoyance for me because my dog is terrified of them. So I've had to leave her downstairs wrapped up in a blanket with a load of noise on my like the iPad of jazz music. So to try and drown out any signs of fireworks, it's an absolute nightmare. I think they should ban fireworks that make loud noises. And if you don't like my opinion on that, I don't care. If you live with a pet who does not like fireworks, it's absolutely awful. It's just miserable. I feel so bad for her. She's terrified. Anyway, yes, I've got these other pieces. I'm just building a kitchen area here. Placing all the things that, you know, the game wants me to put in for a cafe. And I used there's like a custom bar counter below this, which actually has the espresso machine on it, the barista machine. And that was from the Rise and Grind set. So that I've placed on sort of like overlapping the counter that I already have, because I couldn't place the barista machine on this counter. It wanted one of these actual counters that are made for it. So I've just placed it in the corner and nudged it down by 0.01 pixels or something like that using the tool mod, so that there isn't clipping and z-fighting and overlapping. And I'm putting these shelves in too to make a nice display. So here I've got a few different things. I've got this bin. I have this, I think that's actually for like restaurants, that serving station, but I thought it looked nice as like a, you know, the place where you pay. And then I'm putting in all of these cups, pieces, got clutter out, and now I'm using this little shelf technique where you get, I showed this in my little build workshop video, but you get a shelf out, and if you elevate the shelf to the level of the surface you want to place clutter onto, you can then just hold Alt, move it onto that place, and basically you can just ignore the limitation of item placement slots. And I'm going to do the same here on this counter with these syrup bottles, which again are from a CC pack. But I'm going to do the same here with these syrup bottles. You can see I'm struggling a bit here. What I end up doing is placing one bottle on every single placement slot on this shelf. And once I do that, I'm able to then drag them over, because the problem before is when all of the slots weren't filled, they were just clipping into the slots that were available. So now that I can delete them, and I've been able to place them nicely at the back, all lined up together. So that's another trick you can use if you're trying to sort of bypass the limitations of placement slots. Coming in with some more clutter, I'm going to use these oak house tins that I always think look like tea, but I'm going to leave them all white. Because I thought, well, I saw in a picture they had a lot of teas in a Starbucks, but they were all in white boxes, so I left them. I'm placing just like bits of coffee. I'm going to make this display here with these sort of coffee sachets in a few different colours, and I sort of consider this to be like, you know, a display where you could buy coffee. You know, you can often go in these coffee shops and you can actually buy, you know, things that are branded from that shop. And I've got more clutter out, so you can see I've got some immaculate shelves too. And I'm gonna, you know, fiddle around trying to place them inside this custom glass display that I've made. And there's a few issues with things trying to bounce onto slots of other surfaces that have been sized up and down. So here you can see I'm using the cups this time to fill all the slots that the things are trying to clip to, so that now I don't have the problem, because it's not going to try and clip into a slot when they're all full. And then I'm raising these ones up using the square bracket. No, not the square brackets, the 9 key. Square brackets is how you size things up and down. To line these up. And then I just place a few immaculate shelves under them to make it look like, you know, they're actually on something. And then once I've done this, I can, well, with a bit of tweaking, I can then just delete all of these cups, and everything's good. Everything's where I want it to be. So I'm just going to use these immaculate shelves to make another little line. You could say this is probably over detailing. I do over detail things a bit, but I thought just adding this at the bottom here added just another little layer of like interest, customization, to make this serving area look a lot less like just a base game bar. And that wall had to be deleted again. And an annoying thing is, I don't know what happens, but every time I delete that wall, or even just painting a wall, that barista bar goes back to like base level, and I have to nudge it 0.1 into the ground again. Like, every single time. It's quite annoying. So that red shelf was some OMSP, so that I could just place those sort of biscuits where I wanted them to be in front of the counter. And I'm just going to work on this little area here where I'm sort of just picking stuff, copy and pasting it over from things I've put up in the build already. But this is just a little area where, you know, it's the drive-through serving area. You know, no one actually uses this. It's not really a functional area. It's more of just a display area. And I put some syrups here, again using that shelf to do that little nudge over method. Hopefully you can't hear fireworks. The really loud ones going off now. Yeah, and now I'm using this, it's called a Munch kitchen counter, and it's by Charlie Pancakes. But what's really nice about this one is because it's not a shelf, it's a kitchen counter, I can line this up and then I can put bar stools under it, which is why I use this. So I'm just making this, you know, they very typically have this sort of bar stool area by windows. So I've made that using these custom countertops. And then I'm just using some, again, the curtain rail thing and the chrome, what is that called? Chrome wall panel. There we go. Which again, I like. Yeah, you can see it's like shining very nicely. And then I have these chairs by, I think, Harry, I believe. They just look really nice for like the Starbucks aesthetic. I've just checked my recording. I don't think it's too bad. I don't think you can hear too many fireworks. I apologize if you can. So yeah, gonna make another little bar area here, sort of like queue, but bar at the same time. That's pretty common. There was a Starbucks in the city that I lived in that had sort of this sort of layout where you pick up the drinks and there's a sort of bar area near it. So that's what I did here. I made it a little bit long, so I just shortened it a little bit. I think in the final one I've moved this back a little bit too, because I was having some issues with people not being able to stand in front of the bar and actually order drinks. That is correct though, I did playtest this for the first time. I've actually tested a build. Look at me, I'm changing my ways, I'm learning. But yeah, this is all functional. And then I'm using the shelf trick again, because I just wanted to use this half wall as a bit of a display thing. I'm just cluttering. I really, you know, I have a bit of an obsession with cluttering things. If something looks like a shelf that things can be placed on, even if it's not, I will find a way to place things on it just to make things look a bit more natural, a bit more used. And obviously in Starbucks you would have things here, maybe like, you know, some of those cups you could buy, or coffee like I'm putting here, or biscuits, things like that. So yeah, I mean, I could have cluttered this even more. I did think about doing it. It was getting a bit too much. I think that was enough. So here I am, I'm using these wooden slats to make more of a custom looking. I had to delete that wall there because they were trying to snap to the wall. But yeah, I'm making more of a custom looking divider here to just split the main serving area from the drive-through area. And then I'm using these Harry Spoon set wall pieces to just make a bit more interest here in the back. And also I'd seen something like this in some reference pictures. I think it looks really nice. Splits the wall up, makes the wall look a bit more custom. And I'm just using some shelves here, just place a little bit more clutter, some of these rise and grind cups. So I'm going to move on to the bathrooms. Not a huge amount here. This is just like, you know, the bathroom so that Sims can pee while they're here, which they will probably need to if they're drinking lots of coffee. Had a slight toilet dilemma, couldn't figure out which one to use. And again, that swaps again in the one I've uploaded, so that when I was trying to limit the number of packs used. But yeah, just typical toilet things, hand soap, towels, hand dryer, the hand dryer CC, and some toilet roll, which I think I got rid of that as well because it just simplifies things. You can always add things to this if you do end up downloading it, and as I said, if it's not in the description already, it should be there soon. Hopefully it works. If it doesn't, I do apologize. I'm still learning what I'm doing. But yeah. And here's where I'm making this completely unnecessary. Actually, that's a lie. This was necessary. Custom sort of slat wall element thing. So lots of slats, lots of overlapping. I do neaten this a little bit off camera. So everything is... If you see any sort of issues with Z fighting or texture fighting, because there's quite a few pieces used here, I have gone back in and sort of streamlined everything to be a bit more efficient and less collision. Now using these wall lights here, this was another thing I saw in another reference image. As I said, I've just saw all sorts of different elements of interior design in Starbucks builds, and I've picked all the different elements I like and combined them into this, and this was something I saw in one of the reference images, and I just really liked the texture of it and how it had this top-down lighting effect. So now I'm working on the tables, and here I've sized down this chair, and then I floated these sofas up from the basement. So now people will sit on those sofas to sit at the table. So you can actually click these chairs underneath these sort of Dream Home Decorator sofa things that I've made, because there's a gap below them. So when I size these dining chairs down, you can, you know, if you tilt the camera, you can still see the tiny version of them underneath. So you can click it if you want a sim to sit there, and they will sit on it, and the sort of sofa, you can see here the seat of the sofa lines up with where the chair would be. So they're not actually using the sofas because they're technically in the basement, but they floated up so they're visible. So they're actually using these tiny chairs and hovering above them, but it looks like they're sat on the sofas, and they will do that autonomously too. I tested it all, it worked great. So yeah, that's fine. I'm now using these Lovestruck beams, which are a favourite item. I feel like this is really the only reason I have Lovestruck. This is so cute to use this wall beam, but I tried really hard on the ceiling elements here. I wanted to sort of step it up in terms of what things look like when you lower the camera, and I'd seen in another reference image they had sort of this crisscross beam thing with these sort of, what would you call these, spotlights around them, and I wanted to make something similar, so that's what I've done here. These spotlights are custom content. I think they're little Deca from, I think it's called the HMB collection or something. But yeah, I'm just sizing down these beams, and I'm making a nice sort of like, well, ceiling piece of art, really. It's just this ceiling art with beams. Obviously, if you decide to get this and you don't like them, just delete them. But if you zoom in, they do, they don't block your camera. They will fade so that you can see what's going on underneath. I also deliberately didn't place too many so that it wasn't too annoying, because, you know, you don't want it to be too annoying. And again, I'm using these slats here. I got rid of those spa day pieces that I had, and I'm sort of just repeating what I did with the bathroom wall with these slats, and making more custom slat walls. And the benefit of doing this instead of using just a wall pattern is I can then place a black wall behind these slat pieces, and it sort of adds 3D depth to it, which I enjoyed. I'm just making a sort of like speaker system here outside. I've placed some advertisements here, and I'm just making what I consider would be the speaker that you speak into to give you your order before you drive through to the window. And then I'm using these card off Simlish alphabet signs just to put like order here, and I'm going to use a little arrow too, if it wasn't obvious enough. I don't think I have a lot left to do here now. I used another arrow here. I'm going to write drive through with the alphabet. I'm using the card off one rather than the glowing one here, because I wanted the glowing Starbucks to sort of be quite unique at the top. So I'm just using these non-glowing ones to write drive through, which they spell with a U for some reason. Now this is that little road I placed outside isn't in the build, because it was taking up a few too many slots, but I sort of just placed that there to show where the car can drive through to the road. But again, if you have tool mod, you can, or anything you want to add, you can obviously do that, not too difficult. And then just again with the ceiling, I wanted to push myself with this build a bit more and do some ceiling work. So I just placed a few pipes to sort of add a bit more of a, because these Starbucks often have, I think they're trying to make things look a bit more older than they are. And then that's the build complete. So here we go, this is Starbucks. I still cannot believe I made a bloody custom Starbucks. Oh, but it came out nice. I'm pleased with it. As I said, it's a little bit different if you do download it, but you can, hopefully it works. Apologies if there's any kind of like troubleshooting or things. As I said, like I'm very new, I'm trying. I'm trying. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Sorry that there was a slight few days break. I'll be back with the next one soon though, and look after yourselves, be kind to yourselves. Hope to see you in the next one.